the presentation. Thank you everybody for joining. There were definitely around 70 RSVPs. 70 people were interested, but as I told you, Joyce, it's Saturday, and then people
Saturday
wants to join it. Sometimes just virtually they want to see the session and not available.
it's perfectly understandable. Yeah. Okay, so thank you all, and thank you, Supriya and Sandeep, for giving me this opportunity. So, as I was saying, I've been a MuleSoft mentor since some time, but I have not really, been active in MuleSoft meetups. So, thanks to Supriya that I'm here. She did encourage me to join in as a speaker. So it's great meeting all of you. Very familiar names, many of you all, and yeah, and of course, there are many of my colleagues also here. And thanks, Sangamitra, for co-hosting with me today. Okay, so yeah,
Are you able to see my screen and this one?
yes, yeah, I'm
Yep,
able to see.
we can
Okay,
see.
okay. So we'll get started. So guys, welcome to the recording has been started, Sandeep?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I
Yes.
can see that. Yes.
It is.
Okay,
It
okay.
is.
Yes, yes, yes. Sorry. So today I welcome you to Kochi's Mulesoft Meetup, which is number 17, and the topic we have, which is RTF deployment model on OpenShift. Other than the topic name, everything else Joyce will explain you. And thank you everybody. As it is Saturday, I understand how difficult it becomes sometimes to join some technical thing on Saturday. But yeah, post this you can enjoy, and after 1 hour you will feel worth it. So this is a safe harbor statement which isn't every time. So we are organizing this meetup at an individual capacity, our own companies or the clients which we are working on. We are not representing anybody here. And this is for the learning purpose. So whatever Joyce will be explaining, that can be taken as a reference. Definitely, you can reach out to her for the doubts and everything, but that exact solution is not going to be useful in your business requirement. So you have to take that as a reference. Then we are recording this meeting. The questions and everything you can add in the question answer tab. Either me or Sandeep will pick up your question. We can do it in between the session or end of the session, depends upon what kind of question it is. And post the event, you'll have a feedback form which will be coming to your boxes. Please let us know that what we can improve or what went well. And with that, I think if anybody is interested for the next meetup and want to speak about some topic, do let me know about it. Organizers, Sandeep.
Yes. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Kochi meetup, and definitely, we are very happy to be with all of you right now. And thanks for joining on being a Saturday. And I know it's a couple of holidays we get, and and many people I have seen that they have registered, they have not joined. Probably they are looking for the recordings later. And thanks for
That's true.
registration as well. It's very well. And myself, I myself Sandeep. Basically, I work as a technical instructor for Mulesoft, as well as I work for NJC Labs as a technical lead, and that's my domain. So I come from a background of almost 20 plus years of experience in IT, and 15 plus years of experience in integration. Dominantly, why I work as an instructor. So that's what my role. Okay. So thanks Supriya, thanks Joyce for joining, thanks Ankamitra. Okay, so I hopefully we'll have a very great session. Okay, thank you so much.
Mhm. Yes. About me, I think my name is Supriya. I'm a Kochi Mulesoft meetup leader, 10 plus years of experience, just 10, I would say. And I've worked as a developer over the years, then lead architect, platform architect also I've done. So yes, I think I was born with integration. So yeah, that's my experience. The next slide is about speaker, and this is how I hand it over to now to speak. So Joyce, let's do one thing. You speak about this slide, and then I'll hand it over to you, and then you start sharing your screen. Okay?
No, I think you can continue to share, Supriya, for some. I mean, for
That's
a
fine.
few of
That's fine.
these
And when
slides.
it is demo, we'll give it to you.
While demo, I'll share my screen. Yes.
That's fine. Okay, fair enough. Yes, go on.
Yeah, thank you. So, hi everyone. I'm Joyce Thoppel. I'm working as a technical architect in Salesforce. So that's primarily from MuleSoft, of course. And yeah, so I'm already a certified MuleSoft delivery champion. And this was like I'm sure most of you all know. I think it is for the partners. So I had completed it while I was with TCS a few years ago, and I'm already certified MuleSoft platform and integration architect as well. Okay, and I come with 19 plus years of experience in IT industry, the same being in integration. Yeah, I'm hearing some echo. Uh, Supriya,
Mm,
and yeah,
sure. But
okay,
if anybody, I think we have just given access to how many people.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so
okay,
Probably maybe we'll
please,
go
if
on
you're not
mute.
saying,
Probably.
you can go on mute.
yeah,
I will also go on mute.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, that's about it. Like that's about me, and I would love to, help and interact with all of you in this MuleSoft community. And today we will talk on RTF on OpenShift. Um, Supriya, I think the slide. Can you go back to the slide, please? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, if you could move to the next slide. Yeah. And if you could go on full screen if possible. Yeah. Thank you. So, yeah, I think most of us would be aware of the RTF architecture, right? So, the only point I wanted to bring about, like on this particular slide, was like, I mean, we know that RTF is the deployment model for MuleSoft, wherein the control plane is managed by MuleSoft, whereas the runtime plane is managed at the customer end, right? And there are different ways to manage the runtime, right? Like you can host the RTF on different cloud platforms like AWS, EKS, GKE, Red Hat. We have just mentioned four here in this diagram, and this list is ever expanding. Again, I'll show you in the demo as well. Like now they have increased it to Alibaba and a lot of other clouds, and different options are like the options are growing. Okay, so this part is what we are going to explain today as to why RTF on OpenShift helps. Okay, and how, and like why it is helpful in the first place, and secondly, how do we go about doing that deployment model? Okay, and so what are the intricacies during this deployment? What are the different flavors within this deployment model? And like how we can help our customers to help with that setup. Okay, so yeah, Supriya. So I think we can go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So coming to the benefits of RTF, right? So we may have, so some of you may have this question as to why do we need on OpenShift, whereas when we already have RTF capable of being hosted on the different cloud platforms, right? Like say, for example, RTF on AWS or RTF on Azure, RTF on GKE. These are the and these are the primarily main three cloud platforms that clients have at their end. So why do we need OpenShift? Right. So OpenShift, the concept itself is like a container platform that can operate on any underlying cloud platform. Right. So imagine if we are able to host RTF on this particular OpenShift container platform, then whatever be the underlying platforms, right? And MuleSoft is able to be hosted on them, isn't it? So if, for example, from a client point of view, I have say multiple lines of businesses. Say, for example, if I am a client of or for example, an enterprise level bank. Okay, I have MuleSoft license, enterprise license already with me, as most of the enterprise banks already have MuleSoft. And say the bank has multiple lines of businesses, right? So one line of business is primarily on AWS, another is primarily on Azure. I mean, we do have hybrid cloud, uh, in different banks and other enterprises now. So now, if they already have MuleSoft, so now imagine it would be so much more convenient for them if they are able to deploy RTF on OpenShift, which can be structured on the underlying platform, right? Be it Azure, AWS, anything. So you don't need to independently deploy RTF on OpenShift, or sorry, RTF on AWS for one line of business, whereas RTF on say Azure for the other line of business, right? That is one big advantage that we can see. And so with this particular setup or this particular option available, you are like, enterprise ready, right? Be it any underlying platform. And obviously you will help, you can be really agile, you can be really fast in your setup. And one more advantage is, I'll show you also very shortly, like RTF platform, besides the MuleSoft, like just like the MuleSoft Anypoint platform, this OpenShift also has a very good control plane. Okay, so you have a lot of options, like say to manage your pods, to see the logs, and to do multiple things around your different nodes that you have configured and so on. So it has an amazing control plane too. So you have now the benefit of the Anypoint platform control plane as well as the OpenShift one too, right? So which we will see shortly during the demo. So I hope that's clear, like, why this RTF on OpenShift is becoming very popular now amongst the clients, right? So this flavor is really growing in demand. That is what we had seen. So that is the reason why we had done multiple POCs, and, now we became very comfortable and we wanted to spread the word as well. Okay. So yeah, Supriya, can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So if you have any questions, like you can just ping in the chat, and my friend Sangamitra, she's also noting down the questions, so we can take them up together towards the end of the session. Okay. So yeah, so now on up OpenShift itself, like as I was saying, it can work on any underlying platform. So these are the different options that are seen in the OpenShift site itself, right? So this is just a screen grab from the OpenShift site, which talks about OpenShift on AWS, Azure, IBM Cloud, OpenShift dedicated itself, and this list is also growing, right? So I mean, so be it, see, whatever be the underlying layer, OpenShift will keep on becoming compatible to them, and that is how the RTF landscape will keep on increasing, right, depending on what the customer has at their end. So these are the different cluster creation options. Like say, for example, for RTF, to host RTF, we need one underlying cluster, right? So we can create the OpenShift cluster on all these different platforms, right? So today's demo, we will be doing we will be creating the cluster on AWS. And I mean, there are similar, options available for the other cloud platforms too. Okay. Yeah, Supriya, maybe we can go to the next slide. Hello, Supriya, can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. Okay, so that's more or less the theory part. So I think we will do a demo. Okay, and then, like, if we do not have many questions, then maybe we can take up like a small quiz around towards the end, and maybe we can ask you some questions as to what we talked about. And if you have answers, so that means we've done our job well, right? So we'll cover that, the questions part, towards the end. And let me share my screen for the demo now. Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, just a minute. Yeah, share the screen.
So far, whatever Joyce has explained, if anybody has a question, please post your question in question section,
Yeah.
or you can DMs us. That's also fine.
Yes. So before we start, like, I also wanted to show, like, I have also written up recently on this particular, topic that we are taking today. which is on Medium. So I'll be sharing this as one of the reference link also. So I have explained each and every step in this. So today we will do a demo of the same, similar thing that we are doing. Okay, in this RTF deployment model on OpenShift. Okay. So now, so the first step, like as we talked about, right, that is we will be talking, I mean, what are the prerequisites for this, right? Because I am going to create a cluster on AWS. Obviously, I need my AWS account to be set up, right? So I have created my AWS account, like I'm rather using a POC account here, and I should be able to create EC2 instances there, because I'll be creating this AW OpenShift cluster which will be running on the EC2 instances. Okay, so this is one of the prerequisite, that you should have your AWS account created. Okay, and you would also need a user, an IAM user. Okay, so I have done this part, I'll show you. So we would need this IAM user by a specific name. Okay, that is this one, OSD. Yeah, so this is an user that we would need to create, and we would need to give it admin rights. Okay, because I mean, obviously it should be allowed to create those EC2 instances, etc. Okay, and we would also need to create a security credential for this particular user, okay, which we will be using in our OpenShift cluster creation. Okay, so you got my point, right? Because we are going to create the OpenShift cluster on AWS, I need this AWS account created. I need one IAM user with the right access, so that it is allowed to do the things that the OpenShift cluster will ask it to do, right? That is primarily creation of the EC2 instances for the worker nodes as well as for the control plane nodes. Okay, so we will see that, okay, during the time of OpenShift classes. So these are the security credentials that you would need to create, and you would need to immediately save it as well, because this access key, because I mean, once it is created, it will not show you the password later. Okay, I think most of you all would know that, but still I'm just mentioning it. So once you've created the access key, please note it down. Okay, the access key and the password, and because you will need it at the time of creation of the cluster. Okay, so yeah, so once we have this prerequisite, yeah, there are a few other prerequisites too, right? Like you would need to install kubectl, rtfctl, and of course a valid enterprise license. That's a MuleSoft license, which I'm sure every one of you would be having it, right? And kubectl we will see shortly, like we will need it for creating that ingress controller. Okay, that I mean, it will act as a load balancer. And rtfctl, because we will be using this command line utility to manage the runtime fabric. Okay, so I think the prerequisites are clear. Okay, and yeah, coming to the steps that we will be covering mostly, right? So as I said, we will be covering all of this. That is, we will be first seeing how the OpenShift cluster is being created, then install. So once a cluster is created on top of AWS, we will be installing our runtime fabric operator, okay, which is a concept of OpenShift now. And then we will be associating our MuleSoft control plane with this runtime plane, which is created on OpenShift, right? So that is this particular point. And then we'll be creating the RTF namespace, and basically we'll proceed towards deploying the application. Okay. So how do we create the cluster? We just need to go to OpenShift create. Okay. So what I've done is I have created a cluster just now, okay, because this takes around 40 minutes or so. So you would just need to go and create a trial account. Like if you want to try it now, just go to OpenShift, create a trial account. Okay, and here I have chosen the OpenShift dedicated option, and I went ahead and created a cluster by giving my AWS account details. Okay, so this cluster creation takes around 40 or 45 minutes. Okay, so I created it just some time back, like say half an hour ago. Okay, so as soon as it is created, you will see this kind of a page. okay, that the cluster is in ready status and it is deployed in this particular region because I chose this region where my AWS account is created, right? And you can see the nodes, the control plane, etc. All these details it will show up. So the compute nodes that I have requested are only two. Okay, so two worker nodes to balance my workload. And there will be three control planes that OpenShift will internally use. Okay, and two for infra. So at the same time, I think I should show you once a cluster is created, how does it look in EC2, right? Okay. Sorry, let me just reload. Yeah. Okay. So now I have two clusters. So that is why there are so many EC2 instances. But for one cluster, you will see like 7 EC2 instances if you have chosen two worker nodes. Okay. So it is a little heavy. Okay. It requires two worker nodes. And so which are the two worker nodes, etc. Also, it will show up in this, you know, OpenShift console. Very soon we'll see that. That is the control plane of OpenShift. Okay, and it will require two nodes for. So that is exactly what it was showing here, right? Um, where was I seeing that? Okay, so it would show something like this. Okay, but I'll come to this later. So it is clearly showing that there are two worker nodes ready for work. Okay, in EC2, and the others will be for control plane, like three for control plane, okay, and two for infra. Okay, so that is how the backend will be created, okay, on top of that is below this OpenShift cluster. If any questions, do let me know, otherwise I'll go ahead. Okay, so yeah, so this is the OpenShift cluster that we just created. Okay, so I have created it RTF POC cluster, and because it's a trial cluster, it's valid for like around 60 days, right? So yeah, so once the RTF, once the OpenShift cluster is created, now what do we do, right? The next step will be, within this cluster we have to first log in, right? We need to log in with our admin rights so that we are able to install the RTF operator that comes along with the cluster. Okay, now how does, now there may be a question as to why is RTF sitting on OpenShift cluster, right? Because RTF is a MuleSoft concept. So the reason, I'll give you the background, that's because when OpenShift did a partnership with MuleSoft, so what they have done is, OpenShift, like, you know, how we can correlate it with MuleSoft, OpenShift also has a lot of operators, okay, for installation and to work on it. So what they have done is, when they mutually collaborated, OpenShift also released an RTF operator. Okay, so that means we will be allowed, if we have admin access on this cluster, we will be allowed to log into this cluster and install that RTF operator on this cluster and then associate it with our MuleSoft Anypoint platform. Okay, so there are three steps for that. Okay, so once this cluster is ready, so what we have to do is, we have to now log into it using our admin access, right? So now for that, what we are supposed to do is, like, you know, it will show you open console, but you know, if you don't have the right access, you won't be able to install the operator. So what you're supposed to do is, you are supposed to give yourself an admin access, right? So for that, what I had done is, second, yeah, I had used a simple IDP HT password, and you can create your name, and you know, I think, okay, I'll use this. Sorry, it has some limitations for the number of characters, etc. So just use this. Yeah, so I'm creating an admin ID, like I'm just creating an ID using the IDP that is available. Okay, and I will have to give it admin access. Okay, So the user that I just created, I'm asking it to be given cluster admin access. Okay, so now that I have added my user as an admin on top of this cluster, now I will be able to log into this console. I think it takes a minute or two, okay, to take effect, but let me try it anyway. Okay, so it's not asking me for this. It takes some time because it should ask me this user ID's password. Let me try again. This is not the screen. So yeah, let me just refresh it. Because I've already done a lot of trial and error. I know that with that user ID password, it will not work. Yeah, so this is a screen that's expected because I have chosen the HT password as the IDP. Okay, so it should ask me to log in with this, and then I can use the one that I had just created. Okay, so now I'm logged into my own cluster using the admin credentials. Okay, so let's just get into the cluster. Yeah. Okay, so you can see that this is the admin view. Okay, and now that you are an admin, you are allowed to see the operator hub of this particular cluster that you have just now created, right? So now if I go to operator hub, okay, see, these are the different operators that are available to be installed onto my cluster. See, there are 593 operators, out of which there is ours also now, which is the Mulesoft runtime fabric operator, right? I hope everything is clear so far. So now I click on this, and simple, I need to go ahead and install this operator. It's a very quick thing. Okay, so I'll keep everything as default only. Okay, I will not change anything here, and I'll just click on install. So now what is it doing? It's installing the RTF operator onto my cluster. Okay, and because I'm an admin, I'll be allowed to do that. But like if developers were there, then they will be only be able to use the operator which is already installed. Okay, so the developers don't see the operator hub, they only see the installed operators. Okay, so let's just give it a minute to install it. Yeah, so now see, it's already installed and it's showing as ready for use. Okay, so view operator, when you see here, you can see the basic details of the operator, and you will also see a click create instance option. But at this point, we are not supposed to create the instance. Okay, so please be aware. Okay, when you are also doing a similar work, you will be tempted to click on create instance, but do not. Okay, because there are certain things to be done. I'll tell you why. Okay, because I have learned it the wrong way. So if we go ahead and create the instance at this point of time, what happens is we have not created our own namespace within this cluster. Okay, so OpenShift has by default some default namespace for every cluster. So this instance will get created on that default namespace. Okay, so then when we are trying to associate it with our Mulesoft platform, that association will fail. Okay, because Mulesoft will not recognize that default namespace, and then you may additional steps to update that namespace, and then switch that instance to your expected namespace and so on. So better safe than sorry. Do not create the instance at this point of time. Okay, you have just installed the operator, keep it there. Okay, now what you will do is you will go to our Anypoint platform. Okay, so I'll log into my Anypoint platform here. Maybe again I'll do a fresh login. Okay, so we have created the cluster, we have installed the RTF operator, we gave ourselves admin access, then we installed the RTF operator. Okay, and now we have not created the instance. Okay, now we went back to our anypoint platform. Okay, because we need to first create our Mulesoft RTF namespace, okay, within that cluster. So whatever further operations that we want to do on that cluster should be on our RTF namespace only. Okay, so that is a catch, and it's important to remember that point. Okay, so now we go to our anypoint platform. Okay, we go ahead and create an RTF instance here. Okay, RTF deployment target. Okay, so I'll go to sandbox. Okay, so as we all know, like we just have to create a runtime fabric, and see, this is the options that I was talking about, and this list is continuously growing, right? Thanks to MuleSoft, they are continuously evolving and giving more and more options to the client as to where they can deploy the RTF platform. See, earlier it just started with a few options, like I think it just started with one, two, or three, and then they added OpenShift, and now they are continuously evolving, right? So I'll just create something like this demo. I'll use OpenShift platform, of course, because we are working on that. Okay, I'll accept the responsibility. Okay, now see, this RTF deployment target is, like, ready for activation, and MuleSoft will give you these steps that what are you supposed to do on your cluster. So the prerequisites to coming to setting up the deployment target are the steps that we just did till now. Okay, that is creating the cluster first, okay, and then installing the RTF operator on that. Okay, so once we have the RTF operator, now what we are supposed to do is we have to log into that particular cluster, create our namespace, and then associate it with our platform. Okay, so for that also they have given these steps. Okay, hope I'm clear. So now the question is, how do we log into this cluster to give the command line credential, right? So for that, because there are a few things that are missed out in the instructions, I believe. Okay, so here, so what we are supposed to do for that is we are supposed to go to our, see, this is our cluster, right? So we are supposed to copy the login command from here. Okay, so I just went to my user ID there. I clicked on login command. Let me log in again. Yeah, it will give you this display token option, and it will actually give you the command to log into your own cluster. Okay, so you can easily now go to your terminal and log into this cluster. Okay. Yeah, so now see, it is showing me that I have logged into my own cluster, and so now you can go ahead and do all these steps that MuleSoft has told you to do once you have the cluster in place, right? So now it is asking you to create a namespace, okay, which you will be using further. So that is what I'm doing now. So we'll go ahead and create the namespace, which is RTF. Okay, this is a recommended namespace. See, we got this RTF namespace created. So now we have to create a pull secret. So you can copy this command again, which MuleSoft has given, except that we need to replace this namespace here. So I'll just I'll just copy this. This RTF, right? And then yeah, so now we are creating the secret. I mean, we are creating a pull secret for pulling the Docker image. Okay, so now this one, it will show you this RTF pull secret is created, right? We're just following these steps now. So now see, it has now told you, okay, now you go to your console, OpenShift console, navigate to operator hub, and then install this runtime fabric operator. Okay, so we already installed this part, right? So now for configuring the operator, you have to go to installed operators and now create instance. Okay, so this part is what we will do now. Okay, so we already have this. Now an important step is, see, now can you see that you have this RTF namespace which you have created? So switch to this instance, okay, first, okay, and then search for your operator, okay, which you have installed. Just make sure that you are within the project RTF. Okay, this is very important before you create the instance. Okay, so now you can go ahead and create the instance. Okay, um, so this is, I mean, you can call it like association of the anypoint platform to your OpenShift runtime, OpenShift console, okay, or the OpenShift cluster. So now it will ask you for the activation data. Please do not select the ones that you have selected earlier. Okay, you will, I mean, there might be some issues. So always take it from here. Okay, always copy it from the platform, go back here and use the same. Now Mule license. Now, so you need the base 64 version of the Mule license, right? So for that, like at least I follow this method, okay, which I have noted it here as well, right? So what I do is, for the Mule license part, I always use this particular command. Okay, Mulesoft has different ways of doing that base 64 encoding, of course, but I have found that this one is the most foolproof method. Sorry, let me just go to that. Where is the license? I'm bad in remembering the commands. Yeah. So this is the one, right? So what you have to do is you have to just copy that license.lic file, okay, in your root folder, which I have also done, and you can just paste this, right? So what happened? This command, what does it do is, it just converts it into base 64, okay, and copies it into your clipboard, okay. So so once I use this command, it has copied the base 64 encoded license key into the base 64 format, okay, and now I will go ahead and use it on my console. Where was that? Sorry, I was here. Yeah, so I will now use this. Okay, so this is a foolproof method of converting your base 64 Mule license. That is what I have seen. And yeah, I'll go ahead and create this instance now. Okay, so I'll just repeat what we did so far. Okay, I hope it's not getting complicated. It is very simple what we did. Okay, we just went ahead and created the OpenShift cluster on and chose the Amazon EC2, like basic Amazon option to host the OpenShift cluster. So what it internally did, it brought up some nodes in the EC2 instances of Amazon account which I had mentioned, and to work as my worker nodes as well as a control plane nodes. Okay. So then after that, I went ahead and logged into my own cluster with the admin credentials. I looked up for the RTF operator, I installed it, and now, and then I went back to Anypoint platform. I created the deployment target, okay, for it, and then chose those details, and I logged into this cluster using my terminal window, right? I logged into it, I created the RTF namespace, I switched to that RTF namespace that is over here, and then installed that, and then created instance for this operator. Okay, so and while creating the instance, of course, we have to give the activation data, etc. details that our Mulesoft Anypoint platform will provide. Okay, so now what we have done, we have now associated our runtime plane with our control plane, which is at Mulesoft N, right? And the runtime plane is, of course, at this OpenShift cluster, right? I hope that part is clear. Okay, so now, okay, where were we? Yeah, okay. So now we have created this. So now, yeah, you can see this here. As soon as I did that, it has turned into active mode now. I mean, just a few minutes ago, it was ready for activation. The same thing now has become active because now I have told MuleSoft that I already have a runtime plane that I'm associating with this particular control plane. Okay, and this Mule license key also, it is showing me valid till so and so date. And this is very important that it shows up. Okay, if it does not show up, okay, that means there is something wrong with the uh, base 64 encoded value of your license, okay, that you have entered. So it is very important that you enter it correctly, and this is the best way of encoding it, is what I believe. You copy it into a clipboard and then from the clipboard paste it while creating that instance. Okay, so it will not do anything, it will perfectly copy it, and then you will get this over here. Because once, if this license is not showing up, your RTF instance will not come up properly. Okay, so this is how it was expected also. But now if you see, it is showing me healthy deployments, the nodes are healthy, everything. So these nodes, it was able to connect to my AWS EC2 instances and ensure that the nodes are healthy. Okay, so it is ready for deployment. But what about inbound traffic? Nothing, right? I have not done any ingress configuration, and therefore it is showing me that you cannot manage any endpoint for this. Okay, because I have not configured any load balancer which will accept my load and share it with the nodes that I have configured here. Okay, but before that, I will also just select my environment. Okay, I'll just select everything for now. Okay, so I have just selected which environment I would want my um, RTF deployment to work on. Okay, of course, at the client end, you will select that specific line of business and that environment, say the dev or SIT, etc., that you would want your RTF environment for. So that is this particular step. Okay, and now the time for this, right? Now you want the endpoint configuration and the load balancer, right? So for this, you're supposed to use kubectl, right? Remember, we had installed it earlier as the prerequisite. And there are specific commands of kubectl that you are supposed to run, and I'm sure, I think most of you all would be aware of it too. But let me just show it here. I'll just jump to that part. Yeah. So now, to create that RTF ingress load balancer, just blindly run this command. And I will be obviously giving this reference link, so you will get all the commands there. Okay. So what it does, it creates that Nginx ingress load balancer for you. It's taking some time. Maybe we'll just give it a minute. Yeah, see, it has now created. It's just showing you the logs for the same. Yeah, so it's done. So now you're also supposed to deploy it, right? So you'll just use the deploy.yaml for the same. So that is another command that you have to do after that. Okay, you can blindly take it from this reference link, which I will be sharing as well. Okay. Yeah, so the important thing to note is after this step. Okay, so once, yeah, okay, so I had already done it. So it is showing unchanged. Fine. So now what you're supposed to do is, now you're supposed to create an ingress template, okay, for this specific RTF OpenShift cluster that we have created, right? So you're supposed to give the cluster name here in the host, right? Because internally, this ingress load balancer, which will be there on my Anypoint platform, should be able to identify the cluster that we are deploying our load in, isn't it? Right? So it is very important that you give it in this specific format only. Okay. So I have mentioned here, like, so this is the keyword. Till here, it should be as it is. and then you have to just add the cluster name. Okay, like say for example, whatever cluster name that comes up, right? So this cluster name you will be taking and putting it over here, and till here it will be the same keywords. Okay, and once you do that, you will just save it in, say, if you've saved it in your documents folder, you can just run this, and once it is run, then you will be able to see this particular inbound traffic, okay, along with this particular, the entire endpoint. So what I'm going to do is, this part I'm actually skipping now because I already have another cluster with the right ingress template YAML file already applied. Okay, so I'll just switch to that, okay, for the interest of time. So let me just go to that. um, yeah. So I'll just show you what will be the difference, right? Once you apply your ingress template, okay, let's log me out. Yeah, so see, I had two. This one is the one that I just created some time back, right? So it did not have any inbound traffic. And as soon as I apply that ingress template and point to my cluster, it will start showing you this particular inbound traffic as well, which will be pointing to that specific cluster that we want it to point to, okay, for that load distribution. Okay, so I hope this much is clear, right? So now it's almost done, right? So now you are having the, so if you see the big picture, you created a cluster, you associated that cluster with your MuleSoft Anypoint platform, okay, and you deployed your RTF instance onto this cluster, and you now have a load balancer to point, or to repoint your load onto this cluster. Okay, so you're all set now, right? So now you already have a proper runtime fabric as a deployment target, okay, which is ready to be used. You getting it? So now that's it, like, so now you are set, and you have created this runtime fabric deployment target. Now you can go ahead and like, if you try to deploy an application, right, like say, I'll just show you, like it will. So if you choose here the RTF option, see, it is giving me both the RTF options here, but this one does not have an ingress controller configured, but this one has, right? So obviously when I choose here, it will just allow, and then it is a simple normal deployment, right? So I'm choosing this particular deployment target. I could have chosen the newer one also, which I created, but of course this one, it will get stuck because it does not know how will it move it to that particular cluster. But this one I have configured ingress as well, right? So once you deploy it, then it will clearly, it will get deployed. Like say for example, I've already deployed it here. Okay, so I have deployed a simple hello world application from the Anypoint platform onto that deployment target, and it will come up and running, and you can also see the logging. Okay, see, I have this, there is this option here that if you want, you can forward the application logs to Anypoint monitoring as well, and configure the different log levels the way you want, right? So you can also see it in Anypoint monitoring as to how that particular thing is working. Maybe I'll quickly show you that, give you a glance of that. There's my monitoring, yes, right? So if you go to Anypoint monitoring, if you, so yeah, this was this one. So it will show you the performance, like how is this particular application working, though it is actually deployed on your RTF OpenShift cluster, right? You can see the messages inbound, outbound. So everything, whatever you were able to do in any point monitoring, you will be able to do it on this particular application as well. Okay, that is from the MuleSoft side. Now, additionally, you can also do the same thing from your cluster. Okay, see if you go here, like there are different ways to see the logs. One is services, networking services. You can go to pods, click on the application and go to logs, right? So it will show you the application logs, what is happening over here. And there are a lot of other metrics and other things that you can do from this particular console as well, right? So you are at a double advantage. You have the Anypoint platform, you have this, and there is a third option also, right? In your MuleSoft the API, like in this case, I've deployed only the Hello World, but in that in that client application also, in your Log4j appender also, you can ensure that you can forward the logs to say some log aggregator like Splunk. So you can additionally have the logs on some say third party log aggregator also. So there are different ways of managing the logs and the application with this OpenShift deployment option, right? So yeah, I think more or less we've covered the end-to-end deployment. So if there are any questions, we can or Sangamitra, if you want to add anything, please feel free. I don't know if I've missed
No,
anything.
I think no, that's really fine. Thank you, Joyce, for the session. So I have a chat. I mean, if there is any question, please let us know. I think Joyce, you can put the Medium blog link maybe over here, so for the people
Yes,
to,
yes,
so that if they want to go
yes, yes.
through for their any use case, for their any deployment issues, I think we have this troubleshooting also for us.
Yeah,
This is also monitor. I mean, if you face any problem during this deployment, how you are going to check that. I
yeah,
think, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Joyce, for that. I think we have covered all the things, mostly what will be required for the deployment. Yeah, I hope any questions are coming up, then we can welcome that. Maybe people are working or planning to work on OpenShift, or
yeah.
maybe comparing on whether I should do the cubes on EKS, or I should do the cubes on, I will use the OpenShift on that. So any thoughts, guys, please raise your questions. Maybe we can have, I mean, any questions, please. I mean, maybe basic or anything, please open up.
Sure. And if if time permits, like if we have say a couple of minutes, maybe we could have a small quiz kind of a thing also. I mean, if that is okay.
Yes.
So these are some of the things that we covered during the demo. Okay.
I
So
think, yeah, sorry to cut you, Joyce. I think Yogesh has one question. So
yeah,
this license file is basically from your MuleSoft administrator. I mean, MuleSoft organization owner. I think that's
yeah,
from where you will get that, Yogesh.
yeah. The license.lic file, like once you are once you have the MuleSoft license, you can ask your MuleSoft coordinator to share the license file with you, so you can use that.
And apparently, just to add you on that, apparently you can have a 30 days license also for installing
Yeah.
RTF,
Yes.
which you'll get from the standalone. If you are installing a standalone mule, you could run the mule and then go to that conf folder, and you can download that license file, and this can be used on an RTF deployment. Provided you will get only 30 days access. After that, you have to renew it again. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was not aware of that yet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, maybe we can take this up, like, and if any of you want to answer, um, like maybe I'll talk about, yeah, okay. So I think I missed a very small part of the CRC environment setup. Okay, so many of the clients also have OpenShift on, the standalone OpenShift environment. So that is called as the CRC cluster. Okay, I think it's cluster ready, something I forgot. It's the environment which
Yeah, this is cluster ready containers, I think.
yeah, cluster ready container environment. Okay, so this is another option of hosting RTF on CRC. Okay, that is, if you do not want to host it on top of any, say, public cloud, you can actually host it on your kind of, client premises itself, on the CRC environment. So there is a very similar option, like what you're supposed to do for that. In fact, I've covered the CRC setup also in my blog post, which I shared the link here. So there are a few things that we found in that. Okay, so because to set up that CRC cluster, you need a very highly performant machine, like, the node. Of course, it should be very highly performed because this is a very heavy cluster. So sometimes it does not come up, it does not get started, and then you need to reconfigure your machine and so on, and to bring up that CRC cluster, because it's really heavy. So that is something which I skipped here, but because of time constraint. But you can actually go through the document, and you will find the steps on how to set it up on the CRC environment also. Okay. So now, MuleSoft license unknown. Any idea when can we get that error? I think I covered it during the demo. So if any one of you want to, share it in the chat, or if you want to speak up also. Any idea when do we get this particular thing? MuleSoft license unknown. I can't see the chat, but I'm guessing maybe it's not come out very loud and clear, is it? So this is when, you are trying to associate the cluster with the Anypoint platform, and you entered the base 64 encoded license key. Okay, but
Yeah.
still you do not see the
Yes.
valid until, right? So that date, if it is not coming up, so that means it is not identifying your MuleSoft license. There is something wrong with the way you have base 64 encoded your license key. Okay, so you
Yeah, I
will
think
rerun.
Bhanu has got the answer correct. Base 64 is
Okay,
incorrect. That's what I can see in the chat. Yeah,
okay,
Bhanu.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. One more thing, just Joyce, I just like to maybe add up, or
Mm-hmm.
just for a notice, bring into notice. I think here, basically, we have two, three additional concepts. What we have for RTF, what we have in RTF on EKS or RTF on AKS, than to RTF on OpenShift is the concept of the operator and the namespace. So
Yes.
just make sure you have the operator instance of OpenShift in a right namespace. So that is the baseline. Just correct me if I'm wrong. So
Yes.
operator instance has to be in right namespace
Yeah.
to enable, and that rightly namespaced operator instance is your entry point to the MuleSoft Anypoint controller plane.
Yeah.
So
That's perfectly good.
that is the keyword actually we have to remember very, I mean, crucially here. So
Yeah.
operator is absolutely the concept of controlling the OpenShift clusters, which you might not be seeing in EKS on AKS, because EKS and AKS mostly gets controlled randomly, or I mean natively by kubectl or by AZ or other operators. I mean, or other kubectl controller operators. So this operator and namespace. Namespace is nothing but the grouping of the resources we have in the
Yeah.
cluster. So these two actually, I think just that's what Joyce was trying to mention. We faced this type of issue that you won't be able to search the resources until and unless you are into the right namespace. So Joyce, just one question, I mean just one point. So if the user want, they can change the default namespace from
Yes.
RTF to RTF1, RTF2, or
Yes, yes.
any
Yeah, yeah,
RTF.
we can do that. Yes. So that's why in MuleSoft also, like while we're creating the deployment target, they have not really specified the word RTF. They have
Right.
just mentioned you can put in any namespace. But whatever namespace you are putting in, with that namespace only, you will be downloading the secret, and you will be doing the following steps.
Correct. So in that case, Joyce, like what I mean, just I'm talking in, I mean, on behalf of the audience, just let us know if any situation. So suppose if we have environment specific RTF configuration, so where we definitely have to have a different. Can we do like that? We have a different namespace for
Yes,
RTF,
of course.
GF,
Yeah.
QA, and plot, and the same has to be associated with the different instances. So that
Yes.
configuration can be done as far as the
Yes.
infra is concerned, right?
Yes, yes, correct. Yeah,
Oh,
perfectly right. And if it, in fact, if it is like as Sangamitra just mentioned, if we have not done that, and if we have created the RTF instance in the default namespace, believe me, you will run into a lot of issues. Okay, so you would need to do a lot of revert and everything. So this is a very important step that you need to follow. Okay, while doing this deployment model. Yeah, and
sure.
yeah.
Please go
So this is something that comes up temporarily, okay, when you're trying to create the ingress controller. So if there are some existing ingress controllers, this does come up, and then what you would need to do is just delete the existing ingress and then recreate a new one. Now this one we had seen sometimes because we started these POCs, and we did see that this especially came up in the CRC environment setup. Okay, so when we were doing it from Mac and we were trying to install the CRC cluster, it got installed, but we were not able to see the RTF operator at all. Okay, so yeah, so it is, I mean, this kind of thing comes up sometimes with CRC, but again, the root cause is like, you need a very highly performant, preferably Windows machine for the CRC, Windows, Linux, other systems, and not Mac. Okay, so yeah, but yeah, I think yeah, more or less we've covered. So if there are any other questions, you can let us know. And yeah, and I would also suggest that if you need some step by step instructions, you can refer to the blog post also for the same. It should be helpful. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it from our side. So
I
maybe
think Yogesh has asked a question. Can we do it on a trial license of any point
yes.
platform?
Yeah, yeah, definitely we can. Yeah,
You
I
can.
think yeah, you can go ahead and try that. Yes. I have just used my own license, but yeah, you can definitely try it with your license. Yeah. Any other questions? So Yogesh is my like colleague only. So yeah, thanks Yogesh for joining in, by the way, from Salesforce. So yeah, if there are no other questions, I think we've already taken up 10 more minutes of your time. So thank you all for joining in, and on a Saturday afternoon. I know it's very difficult. So thank you very much, and thank you Sangamitra, thank you all of you, Yogesh and everyone, and thank you Sandeep, thank you Supriya. I think we can.
Saturday morning.
For you, it's morning.
Can
Thank you.
everybody come on a video call and we'll just take one picture if that is fine? Sandeep, start giving accesses, please, to people. I've start. Yeah, you can just switch on to your camera. Just don't end the event. I think I've given to most of the people. Yeah, please feel free to come on camera. That's fine.
Yeah.
Then Chetan. I hope everybody is able to switch on to their cameras.
Okay, Yogesh is, I think, having some difficulty.
Hmm?
No, Yogesh is lying.
No, no.
Okay.
Maybe from mobile, so maybe some issues.
Maybe. Okay, fine. I think everybody is here. Why am I? No, please. Who's sharing screen?
No, I don't think I am.
Nobody's sharing screen,
No,
right?
no, no, no. I think they're on cameras only.
Yeah.
1 second. I'm just trying to take.
Only the
Sandeep, you also take, please, one print screen. I'm trying to take a snapshot, but not possible.
Maybe I can take one.
I
Hmm. I've taken one.
Mm,
Okay, I think
yeah,
I've
the
taken
sound.
one.
Yeah, yeah, I can listen the sound, the clicking sound. Yes.
No, no, you can take. That's fine. You can share with me later. Thank you so much, everybody, for
Thank you.
joining. And see you soon in the next meetup. But please, anybody who's interested in speaking for any other topic, please do let us know. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you
Bye.
all. And hope it
Thank
was
you.
helpful.
Have
Thank
a fun
you,
weekend. Happy
Joyce. Thank you.
holidays. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.